Countdown to March Madness, number 2, February 12th, 2024. Get this over with. All right. An interesting weekend in college basketball, and Saturday especially. Couple of interesting results in the Big Ten on Sunday. But we'll start with the headlines. And the first thought that I have is just the current system and how they field the bracket, kind of the reliance on the net rankings quad system, which I think has some flaws. I think if you look at some of the teams right now that are seated in certain spots, I think there's something to the fact that it might not make as much sense as it probably should. Like I would take an example such as, let's say, an Auburn, who is 19-5, with their worst loss being a quad 2, and them only having 2 quad 1 wins. Essentially, if you have that few of quad 1 wins and you have 5 losses, you're probably not going to be able to get better than a 4 seed.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the best. Like, if you look at a lot of the numbers, I don't think there's any denying that Auburn is probably a top 10 team in the country. And their only loss where you scratch your head is App State, which is not great, but it's a quad 2, to be fair. And then their other losses are Baylor, Alabama, Mississippi State, and Florida, who are 4 top 35 teams, according to the Ken Palm. So I don't know. I feel like there's certain spots where teams are just stuck. Like there's teams on the 4 line that are probably good enough to be 3 seeds and have good resumes that might not get 3 seeds. So I wonder if we want teams to have like such clean resumes to the point where we kind of withhold teams from being able to get a better seed because of that.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, right now, how it currently sits with the teams, right? It's like UConn, Purdue, and Houston are locks. Who are locks as 1 seeds right now?
UConn, Purdue, Houston, and Arizona probably.
Yeah.
And Arizona has a Q3.
Yeah.
But a really clean. I mean, the system also sucks because, like, Wisconsin lost at Michigan and then they lost at Rutgers, and those are Q2 games. Like, you really think 3-10 Michigan should be in the Q2, especially when they're hardly even a top 100 metrics team? Like, that stinks. Wisconsin 6-5 in quad 1, and they've lost 4 in a row. And I don't think it's possible for them to be worse than a 4 unless they keep losing.
You can't move them off of it. Is it because the middle is so just muddy right now, more than anything, or?
I think that's probably a big part of it. I mean, their losses overall, like you have a loss at Providence, that's fine, whatever. But they did, completely no-show that game. They have lost to Arizona at Arizona by 25, which you probably want to see them be a little bit more competitive in that game, but I'm not going to blame them. They lost at Penn State by 4. Penn State's at 89th right now on Ken Palm's overall number. Lost at Nebraska. Okay, that's fine. Lost to Purdue at home. That's fine. Lost at Michigan. Lost at Rutgers. So that's probably 6 of their 8 losses are to teams that I should say 4 of their 8 losses are to teams that are probably not going to make the tournament. Michigan, Rutgers, and Penn State aren't. I don't know about Providence. Probably not. So I don't know. I mean, then you look at their wins. Like they have 6 quad 1s, but what are those quad 1s? Like Virginia, I think SMU might be a quad 1. Probably not, though. I think it's probably a Q2. Marquette, good win. Michigan State, at Michigan State, that's a really good win now. They have 2 wins over Michigan State. But like other than that, how many other wins do they have that really carry a lot of weight? So I don't know. I just think that probably part of it is there's a lot of teams around where Wisconsin's at that have like not a great resume.
Yeah.
Like if we want to take Illinois as an example in their conference, like Illinois' resume is not great. It's fine. They're a good metrics team and they have, a couple of wins that you're like, okay, it's fine. I mean, they got the Michigan State win and they have the Florida Atlantic win, which, neither of those are groundbreaking. Wisconsin's got the better wins, but I don't know what, like, another problem is Illinois has 3 quad 1s and one of those is Ohio State, I believe. So Like, can we not put a little bit more context into what some of these wins are? I don't know. Yeah, I'd be curious to see how the committee handles it because I think it's gonna be pretty hard to figure out some of these like the 3, 4, 5 lines are gonna be interesting. Like, are they willing to, move up a certain team that maybe shouldn't be like Kentucky? If Kentucky finishes the season strong, could they get to like a 4? Like they're a 6 right now, probably. So I don't know. We'll see. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think that this tournament's going to stink. Where I'm at on it.
That's what I said it yesterday on the Illinois one, but this is the tournament where everybody's going to pick upsets because of how the season's been, and it's going to be 4 number 1 seeds that make it. It just has that feeling to it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the final KenPom rankings last year or 2 years ago in 2022, the Final Four had the number 3 team, the number 8 team, the number 16 team, and the number 10 team. Now, if you look at last year, it was number 1, it was number 14, it was number 17. A lot of these teams rise because of the run they're on, and it was number 24.
Yeah.
So I think we're probably going to have like a Purdue is number 2, UConn's number 3. We could have like a 2, 3, 4 with Arizona being 4th, and then like a Kansas who's 14th makes it. Like it's probably going to happen. I could see it. Speaking of Kentucky defensively struggles continue. They are 6-4 in the SEC now. They've lost 4 of 5 and 3 of their last 4. They lost at home against Gonzaga, 89-85. Kentucky just gives up so many points. I mean, if you look back, their last 4 games, they gave up 94 in an overtime loss to Florida. They gave up 103 to Tennessee, and they gave up 77 to Vanderbilt, which was fine, I guess, even though Vanderbilt's pretty bad, and 89 to Gonzaga. 3 straight home losses for Kentucky. I mean, I would still bet on this team to make a run, but they got to figure out some defensive stuff.
Yeah, you've been heavy on them.
So. I mean, they shoot 41% from 3,
and
they have a ton of talent, and they can run the floor. It's just they got to figure. One of their problems is that not only are they really young, but also a lot of their older best players aren't very good defenders. So,
yeah,
I don't know how that's going to work in the tournament, but they're going to be the scariest 6 seed of all time if they're a 6 seed.
That's true.
Because making threes like this can translate to the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. And all you got to do is get hot, get on a run. Be interesting.
The SEC as a whole is kind of in a weird spot. I think the team that I trust the most in the SEC to make a run, if you kind of take away the Rick Barnes history in the tournament, is probably Tennessee, just because they're really old and they can also defend. Like they're the most balanced team in the conference right now, probably slightly ahead of Auburn. And outside of a 3-game losing streak to Purdue, Kansas, and North Carolina, they have won 13 of 16. So,
yeah. And
they've only no-shown like 1 game the entire season, which was this Texas A&M loss they had on Saturday. So they have Connect, who's a stud. They got Ziegler, who's a junior. Jonas Adu's a junior. Gainey's a junior. Josiah Jordan-James is a senior. Vescovi's a senior. I mean, they're old. And we'll see how Connect's game translates into the tournament. He's never played in the tournament. Northern Colorado was not very good in his 2 years there. So it'd be interesting. I mean, he's shooting 40% from 3. He scores like 20-plus every game, it seems like. In their games against Georgia and Florida earlier this season, he had 36 and 39 back-to-back games. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know. The SEC, I think it's the style that translates to most of the tournament, but you got Alabama, South Carolina, Auburn, Tennessee, Florida, Kentucky right now. That's a pretty strong top 6. I would argue that despite some of the metrics and such overall say that the Big East is a better conference, I think the SEC is still number 2 behind the Big 12. But I still think the SEC might be better than the Big 12. I don't know. The Big 12 is just like not a muck it up team. It's not my style. I don't like it very much. Like UCF is like a really good defensive team, but they're horrible offensively. There's a bunch of teams that are like that. that rely a lot on defense. Iowa State, hint, Kansas, but yeah, Pac-12. Pac-12. Look, it's Arizona. It's everybody else.
Yeah.
Washington State, though, look out. 9-4 in the conference, 18-6. They've won 5 in a row. Wins over Colorado, over Utah, over Oregon, over Washington. They got Cal and Stanford. They could get that streak to 7, get to 11-4 before they play at Arizona on the 22nd. Watch out for Washington State. I don't know where the bracketologists like them right now. Probably a last 4-in team as it stands. They could keep going up, though. I mean, their schedule opening up pretty good here. And the Pac-12 right now as a whole is probably a conference that's going to get like 3 bids, maybe.
You think they'll reach 3? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I have to think that there are a couple of teams that could get in after Arizona. I mean, I think Washington State's working their way up.
Yeah.
I don't know where everybody stands on Oregon as a tournament hopeful.
You would know more than anybody.
Oh, that's a little much. I would think Utah's in the mix somewhere too, still, and Colorado. Utah's got 3 quad 1s. They do have a quad 3 loss. Colorado has only 1 quad 1 win, which is probably going to bite them a little bit, but they don't have any losses in 3 or 4. They got a top 70 strength of schedule. What I'm seeing according to CBS right now is the Pac-12 having, hang on, one moment, please. They got to make it easier to find this number. I mean, Jesus, guys, come on, clean it up. I can't even find the number. Oh, come on, Jerry. What the? I don't know the number, so there you go. I'll have to manually do it myself. All right, they got Utah as a last 4-in. They got Colorado in. That's 2. Washington State in. That's 3. Arizona, that's 4. So I think Oregon's hurting themselves a little bit with a couple of their losses. Santa Clara, Syracuse, UCLA, 3 pretty tough losses there. And their metrics aren't great. They're a really bad team when it comes to guarding the 3 ball. So I don't trust them already. So that's the Pac-12. I mean, the Pac-12 last year as a conference, not great. Kind of the opposite of football. They're pretty good football this year, not in basketball. Iowa State continues to win. Still don't trust them in the tournament. I tell you that. I mean, look, Iowa State last year was 29th in KenPom. They started the year 13-2, finished it in the regular season 18-12. So that's 5-10. They go into the Big 12 tournament with a win at Baylor, and then they beat Baylor again on a neutral site, at a neutral site in the tournament, and then lost to Kansas. And then they enter the tournament, and everyone's like, okay, Iowa State's a 6 seed. Do we trust them? Do we not trust them? I always felt like, okay, they better hope that they're playing like not Pitt in that 11 seed plan. They end up playing Pitt.
Yeah.
They score 41 points. They lose by 18.
Yeah.
I understand that Lipsy is in his 2nd season, and he's been much better. He's been struggling over the last 5. He scored 8. He missed a game, scored 8 points, scored 10, scored 8, scored 12, scored 7. Before that, he had a 22-point game against VCU, 18 against Virginia Tech, 15 against DePaul, who is pretty much a D7 school, 17 against Oklahoma State, 14 against Houston. So he struggled a little bit. But this team just they just have such a reliance on defense to where yeah, that's great. But when depending on your matchup, you could put yourself in a really bad spot. I think a lot of people will look at KenPom right now and be like, whoa, Iowa State is 9th. And then you look at it, you're like, yeah. I mean, they're non-conference. Best wins are VCU and Iowa.
Yeah.
So, and then they gave up 80 points to a DePaul team that is now ranked 300th on KenPom. A 3-20 DePaul team. Quite possibly the worst power conference team we have seen in years. I know Oregon State and Georgetown had a couple bad years here and there, but my Lord, we should have a DePaul Georgetown matchup this year to determine who's the worst.
Who's the worst?
I'd like to see that. But Iowa State, you probably haven't watched them very much. Neither have I. I would never subject myself to that. But looking at them, you don't trust them, right? I mean, come on. No trust.
No.
They're offensively this year, they're probably better than last year. I mean, definitely better. But you look at the non-conference. The non-conference last year, like they beat Villanova, who wasn't very good. They beat North Carolina, who at the time looked very good. Wasn't very good. They lost to UConn. They lost to Iowa. They beat St. John's. Then they go into the Big 12 season and they're beating their wins right now. I know they beat Houston. Fine. Like Houston, first year in the Big 12, they're going to have losses like that. I know they beat Kansas. Fine. Kansas, really struggling. I don't know what this Kansas team is. Like the Big 12 has some really inflated numbers, and I am going to be very careful in trusting Big 12 teams in the tournament.
I understand that. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's like Houston's great, but how is this going to translate to whoever they play? Like they're really good, but I don't know. Houston's a little undersized this year. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and they're playing a full schedule through the Big 10, and it's different. Or the Big 12, jeez.
There you go.
Glad I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Kansas gets a big win. They beat Baylor 64-61 at home. Close game. Kansas, after a 13-1 start, they are 6-4 in their last 10. So,
Kansas tried every way to lose this game, but they forced Baylor to 21 turnovers and still barely won this game at home.
Yeah,
Bill Self did not look happy at the end of that game, like down the stretch of that game.
Yeah, Kevin McCullough did not play. I don't think he's playing tonight either.
Yeah.
So they got Furphy starting for him. I think Nicholas Timberlake has been one of the more underwhelming transfers in the country. A lot of people thought, okay, here's a 3 or a 2 who shot 41% from 3 last year at Towson. UConn was going after him hard, and he has been pretty much a complete non-factor the entire year for them. He is shooting 28% from 3. His season high in points, he had 13 points 2 different times. His season low is a bunch of games where he scored 0. And then in this game, he plays 31 minutes at 8 points on 2 of 7 shooting from 3. Had a block and a steal, but overall, huge disappointment in terms of transfers. But as long as this team has, if you have DeJuan Harris, KJ Adams, and Hunter Dickinson in your lineup, put the other 2 there, hope it works out. But like the Kansas without McCullough, it's like 0 depth. So, and also, Timberlake and Furphy need to make threes if they're going to be starting. And those 2 went 2 for 13 combined. So, I mean, the savior of this game really was the fact that they were able to force 21 turnovers. Jacoby Walter had 5. Ray J. Dennis had 6. OG Awanu or whatever his name is. Let me sound that out. OG Onwuna. OG Onwuna, the sophomore big man for Baylor, had 4 turnovers in 8 minutes. So, yikes. Really bad performance from Baylor, and they still almost come away with a win at Allen Fieldhouse. But a big spot tonight for Kansas on the road. We'll get to that. Yeah. Over to the Big Ten. Wisconsin. We all thought that, look, Michigan's a bounce back for them. They lost 2 in a row. They lose that game. Rutgers is a bounce back for them. They've lost 3 in a row. They lose that game. And we've already had a discussion about Wisconsin on the Illini podcast, but I think the overwhelming thing right now is 2 things. Their defense has not been very good recently. I know they're not giving up a ton of points, but look at the teams they're playing.
Yeah.
Like Purdue did not play that. Like Purdue had their B game against Wisconsin, B- against Wisconsin.
Probably.
75 points is like scoring 55 for Purdue.
Yeah.
Nebraska, I'm not going to blame them for that. Tough to win there, but you lose at Michigan, and then you just don't even show up at Rutgers. This was a blowout.
Yeah.
And Wisconsin is just the big thing is their starters are not doing anything. That was a big theme. 33 points from their starters in this game. I
Yeah,
don't see how that's going to cut it.
you can't get to 60. It was what 71-59 that game or something like that.
78-56.
Oh, geez, way worse than I thought.
They were
Bad.
They were down 37-28 at the half, and then they were outscored 41-28 in the second half.
How many did Wall have in that game?
Wall had 7 points, 12 rebounds, 3 of 8 shooting. Does Wisconsin change their lineup in the next game? Because they've been going Hepburn, Klesmit, Storr, Wall, Crowell.
Who do you take out of it?
I know I said something about their defense.
Yeah.
But I feel like you should probably look at like, okay, maybe we swap Esigian and Klesmit and see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, Esigian had 15 in this game, so
yeah. He's the
I
only
know
guy that can put in the hoop besides Storr, who's been.
He's a non-factor defensively.
Yeah.
But you got to change something up, I think, if you're Greg Gard.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised. Like, Wall just hasn't seemed as aggressive as he usually is on defense. Or on offense, but
he's not taking very many shots. It's kind of weird. I mean, you look at the attempts, like when they were winning, even he had 12 shot attempts against Jacksonville State, 7 against Chicago State, 6 against Iowa, 10 against Nebraska, 6 against Ohio State, 4 against Northwestern, 7 against Penn State. It just feels like he was their number, 2 option the last couple of years, I guess. I mean, if you look at last year's team, the number 1 option was either him or Hepburn, I guess, or Crowell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Hepburn is another guy who just has not been the same offensively. That's the guy who had 27 points. I know it was the NIT, but had 27 points in an NIT game, and he is not his season high this year is 7 or 20 in their first game.
Wow.
And he's also had, let's count them, folks. He started every game. He's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 games out of 24 with fewer than 10 points. So it's the AJ Storr show, and then hopefully Esigian and Klesmit make shots.
Yeah.
It's not, they're not the same offense. And their offensive metrics are really good, which is the interesting part. Like they were 7th in efficiency before these last couple of losses are now 15th. But the fact that their offense has been that efficient with some of these guys not doing what they did like last year, the year before is, I think it says a lot about how good AJ Storr is, but they're in a tough spot. They got Ohio State and Iowa this week. I think they'll probably win. I think Iowa beats them, but I think they beat
really.
Ohio. Yeah.
Wow.
I think Iowa just scores a lot of points, and it's just like, can Wisconsin keep up if you don't have some of those guys making shots like they have? They haven't been doing that.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
Give up 87 points to Penn State. That's not good. Penn State is probably better offensively than I would have expected, but still, they're not great. All right, let's see. Minnesota seems like they're done. Had a big lead at Iowa yesterday, blew it, lost 90-85, gave up 52 points in the second half, 30 points in the last 10. This is another game from Iowa where they've either had the script flipped on them or they flipped it on somebody else, because the game before this, Iowa gave up 35 in the final 10 to Penn State to lose by 10. So I don't think this Iowa team's very good. I don't think they're a tournament team. I thought Minnesota was getting closer, but you lose a game like this, and then you go back and look at the non-conference for Minnesota. Minnesota's probably dead.
Yeah. Unless they beat Illinois.
I don't even think that would save them at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at their non-conference schedule. They blew that game against Missouri. They lost to San Francisco by 18. Then their other wins are Bethune-Cookman 317, UTSA 290, USC Upstate, which is South Carolina Upstate, 287, Arkansas Pine Bluff 339, New Orleans 337, Florida Gulf Coast 252, IUPUI 361. Just a bunch of bad teams. Ball State 257, Maine 220. It's, I think, the second worst non-conference strength of schedule in the country or something. So big mistake there by Ben Johnson. Big mistake. Trying to pull a fast one on everybody.
Maybe somebody just wanted to play him.
I'm sure that's what it was. And then Michigan State gets a big win at Illinois. They needed it.
At home against Illinois.
Yeah, whatever. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, I mean, Michigan State probably saved themselves there, right?
Yeah. Definitely a game they needed to win. They won it, found a way.
Currently a 9 seed according to CBS and a 9 seed according to Bracketville. So
Michigan State fans still don't think they're making the tournament, though, from the ones that I know, which is weird.
Well, they got the Illinois win. They got an Indiana State win in their back pocket.
Yeah.
They've got a Butler win, which isn't too bad. And then their worst loss is Minnesota, probably. I mean, I guess James Madison might be worse just because it was at home.
Yeah.
But
turned out not to be as shocking when James Madison went on a run afterwards. But how's James Madison doing now? Do you have any idea?
Hold.
They were ranked for a while.
22-3.
Okay.
Lost to Southern Miss, who's not good, and they lost to App State twice.
Can't beat Curbelo.
They just beat Akron by 14. Yeah, Southern Miss, Andre Curbelo had 15, 12, or 15, 3, and 9 in that game. Nice try to beat him.
Yeah.
Big East, Marquette, comeback win over St. John's. Marquette has now won 7 in a row, 11-5 to 18-5. Last loss was Butler on January 10th. They've got Butler again tomorrow night and then UConn on Saturday. If they win that game, they go into UConn on an 8-game win streak. That's going to be a great game there. And one thing that Marquette does just about better than anybody in the country is make twos. The only teams better than them in 2-point percentage are Cornell, Indiana State, Creighton, UConn, Wright State, Colorado State, BYU, and San Francisco. That's it. So even without, you lose Sean Jones for the season, you still got Kolick, you still got Cam Jones, who's had 31 against Georgetown after not playing in the Villanova game. You got Iguodaro still there. He had 21, 7, and 4 against Seton Hall on January 27th. So still think Marquette's good. Over to Creighton, I mean, I really don't know. I mean, they beat Xavier on Saturday by 7. Some of their defensive numbers are a little ugly. They don't force turnovers at all. They're the second worst team in the country in turnover percentage defensively. They don't give up a lot of points, but some of those numbers are inflated from when they, played Florida A&M or North Dakota State or Texas Southern or Central Michigan. So I don't know. I don't think I trust them right now, but also you look at that lineup and you're like, yeah, I mean, these guys have been here forever.
Yeah.
Got to trust them.
Got some shooters, got some scorers. Just got to put it all together at the right time.
Doesn't make sense that they lost to Butler and Providence back-to-back games and losing to UNLV. I mean, and then giving up or scoring 48 against Colorado State in November. Like, what the hell is that?
That's crazy.
But, I mean, Greg McDermott usually makes a run. Elite 8 last year, second round the year before that, Sweet 16 the year before that. So,
yeah,
I think they'll probably still get to the second weekend. I don't really trust them, though. ACC, Virginia playing really well right now, starting to figure some things out. Defensively, one of the best teams in the country. 10-3 in the conference now. They have won every game since January 17th. They have won 8 in a row. Now 19-5 overall. Still need to figure out some stuff offensively, but the good thing for them is that they shoot 38% from 3, which is 16th in the country. So that's one way to save yourself if you're not a very good offensive team. But they are a pretty prototypical Tony Bennett team. They're not like a very high-level team. I think they're probably a little bit worse than they were last year. They lost in the first round last year to Furman. But either way, this Virginia team is probably going to be, a 7 or an 8 seed, and nobody's going to really want to play them. But, yeah, they got some talent. I mean, I really like the trio they got there with Beekman and McNeely and Dunn. I think those guys are a couple future pros possibly right there. Maybe, 3 of them. Who knows? But, We'll see. I don't think this team gets to the second weekend, but they're playing well right now, so good for them. The ACC as a whole, though, North Carolina, the best team still. Losing to Clemson, bit of a weird one, but come back, barely beat Miami. Duke doesn't really have a challenge until tonight. Wake Forest, that'll be an interesting game.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, yeah, Clemson really needed that win over North Carolina. That's a big one there for their resume. They got an Alabama win, they got a North Carolina win, they got a TCU win now as well. So Clemson, despite the fact they're only 6-6 in the conference, they're going to be a tournament team, I think. I mean, some people have them on a 4 line right now. So
Wow.
CBS has them fourth. 4 quad 1s, 4 quad 2s, and a quad 3 loss. But 18th strength of schedule, that always helps.
Yep.
So we'll see.
Wow.
32 teams in the country right now with 5 losses or less. How about that?
Is that normal or is that
Just a number I counted.
okay?
See how many there were.
Okay.
Quinnipiac, High Point, South Florida, Morehead State, App State, Mississippi, Drake, Virginia, Nevada, Colorado State, FAU, New Mexico, Kansas, Duke, Marquette, Iowa State, North Carolina, Auburn, Arizona, Cornell, Utah State, Dayton, McNeese State, Samford, Princeton, James Madison, South Carolina, Indiana State, Houston, Grand Canyon, UConn, Purdue. So there's 10 teams with 3 losses or less.
That would have been a better list.
13 teams with 4 losses or less.
How about 1 loss?
Nobody. Purdue, UConn, and Grand Canyon are all 2-loss teams. How about Grand Canyon? Bryce Drew doing a phenomenal job there.
What are they doing? I haven't even heard about them.
They're 22-2.
Wow.
12-1 in the conference.
Wow.
Only non-conference loss was South Carolina. They beat San Diego State. They lost to Seattle in conference, which is probably, just a slip up.
Yeah, he'll have those.
But he's going to get a high major job at some point soon, right? I mean, it's year 4 at Grand Canyon. Made the tournament his first year, lost in the first round. Second year, didn't make the tournament, but went 23-8, 12-5 in the conference. Last year, made the tournament 24-12, 10-7, and then he's already got 22 wins this year. I would think he's going to get one soon. I don't know what it's going to be. DePaul,
Right.
maybe. I wouldn't take that if I were him. I would 100% stay at Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But overall, he's got a good resume. I mean, 2 tournament appearances with Valpo, 2013-15. Tournament appearance with Vanderbilt in 2017. Of course, went 0-18 before getting fired there, but then in the conference. But got the Grand Canyon job. About to probably have 3 tournament appearances. This team could be in the mix for, sneaky at-large team maybe. Who knows? Guess it depends on the conference. Right now, I see him as an 11, 44th in the net. So who knows? All right. I feel like I've already done the bracketology stuff almost, but it looks like this. UConn, Purdue, Houston, Arizona are going to be your 1 seeds as of right now. Arizona 19-5, but they're 3rd in the net. They got 7 quad 1 wins. They do have a quad 3 loss, but 10th strength of schedule. But I think right now, in terms of the numbers and the resume, Purdue is the best team in the country when it comes to that. I mean, they have the number 1 strength of schedule, number 8 non-conference strength of schedule. They have 8 quad 1 wins, which ties UConn for the most in the country. They're 7-0 in quad 2, no quad 3 or 4 losses. Purdue, I think, should probably be the number 1 overall seed, even though I think a lot of people would maybe say UConn.
Yeah.
But I would still, favor Purdue in that spot. Outside of that, though, I mean, right now the current 3 line, according to CBS, with Jerry Palm, who, not the most accurate of bracketologists, but, does it. So see where he's at on that. I mean, Iowa State, South Carolina, Alabama, Baylor on the 3 line, Clemson, Duke, San Diego State, Illinois on the 4 line. So that'll be interesting. All right, let's do games of the week. Pretty good Saturday slate. Some of the weeknight slates this week are good. I mean, this is a big week in Mountain West basketball with all the games that are going to be in there. I think we will see plenty of good stuff from that conference this week. A couple of late night spots for them on CBS Sports Network, but tonight games of the week tonight. I mean, it's a two game slate like every Monday these days.
Yeah.
So it's Kansas at Texas Tech.
Oh, was I supposed to say that? Sorry.
No, I got it.
Okay.
I'm trying to type something in here.
Wake Forest at Duke.
Yeah, so that's the second game, both on ESPN. I think, right? Yeah. Or wait, that's the first game. The Kansas Texas.
Wake Duke is first game.
Yeah. I got it. Tuesday. Do you have any for Tuesday?
Yeah. Number 4 Marquette goes to Butler. Number 25 Oklahoma goes to Baylor. Ohio State plays at Wisconsin. Wisconsin kind of needs a win. And then Ole Miss goes to Kentucky. I'm sure you got more, but that's what I got.
I got Iowa State at Cincinnati, 6 o'clock ESPN2. New Mexico at Nevada, 10 p.m. CBS Sports Network. Big game there. Oklahoma at Baylor, 8 p.m. ESPN2. Colorado State at San Diego State, 8 p.m. CBS Sports Network. St. John's at Providence. Ole Miss at Kentucky. North Carolina at Syracuse. Pitt at Virginia. UCF at BYU. So
Michigan at Illinois.
Yep. Big doubleheader for the Mountain West with, Colorado State, big road spot, New Mexico, big road spot. Wednesday.
I only got one game. South Carolina goes to Auburn.
Xavier at Seton Hall, 6 o'clock CBS Sports Network. Michigan State at Penn State, 5:30 Big Ten Network. Iowa at Maryland, 7:30 Big Ten Network. I don't know why that's on there, but whatever. Just watch it if it's there, I guess. Miami at Clemson, 6 p.m. ESPN2. Thursday.
Temple at still ranked FAU.
I didn't even put that on there. Colorado at UCLA. UCLA's been playing some better ball. Colorado needs to stay in the mix, so they could use a win there. Northwestern at Rutgers. See if Rutgers can continue to play well. Utah at USC. Same thing with Colorado. Got to beat an inferior team on the road. SMU at Tulane and Memphis at North Texas. Friday.
I only got New Mexico going to San Diego State.
This is a big week in the Mountain West continues. That's a big one there. Saturday.
Oh, Saturday. A lot of basketball Saturday.
Yep.
Texas Tech goes to Iowa State. Texas A&M goes to Alabama. Creighton plays at Butler. Marquette, UConn, huge game. Big game. Should be a good one. Kansas goes to Oklahoma. Kentucky goes to Auburn. And Illinois goes to dreaded Maryland.
I didn't even listen, so I don't know what ones you...
That's fine. You can say them again. I'm sure that the one person watching really cares.
I hope they do. Kansas at Oklahoma. I'm sure you said that.
No.
Oh, wow. Creighton at Butler.
I did all ranked games. So you
Wisconsin at Iowa, Illinois at Maryland, Marquette at UConn, Wake Forest at Virginia, Utah State at Colorado State. Another big Mountain West game there. TCU at Kansas State, Florida at Georgia, Cincinnati at UCF, Duke at Florida State, Nevada at UNLV, 10:30 p.m. FS1, big spot. Kentucky at Auburn might be the game of the day. Texas Tech at Iowa State, Colorado at USC, Michigan State at Michigan, Texas A&M at Alabama. Big one here in the Missouri Valley. Southern Illinois plays host to Indiana State. Texas at Houston, Penn State at Nebraska. Kind of weird to see Texas at Houston, Big 12 on CBS on Saturday. That'll be interesting. Sunday.
I got Purdue playing at Ohio State.
You also got Utah at UCLA at 6 o'clock on FS1. That's Central Time. Northwestern at Indiana, 2 o'clock. Florida Atlantic at South Florida, 11 a.m. Seton Hall at St. John's, 4 p.m. FS1. Memphis at SMU, 3 p.m. ESPN. North Texas at UAB, 2 p.m. And then Rutgers at Minnesota, 5:30 p.m. So a lot of Sunday games in comparison to what we've had. It's almost like the football season's over or something. 3 upset picks, which I really struggled finding upsets this week.
Yeah. Last week I went 1-2. The only one I got was Rutgers beating Wisconsin. Baylor lost to Kansas by 3. like we talked about earlier, committed 21 turnovers, lost by 3, and then TCU over Iowa State was my other one, which TCU lost by 12. So I'm going to go with Tuesday. I got Oklahoma over Baylor at Baylor. Wednesday, I got Arkansas in a home game against Tennessee, which is probably the craziest pick ever. And then I got Marquette beating UConn, going into UConn, giving UConn a loss.
All right, I'm getting weird with some of mine. I really don't like them at all. Given the Iowa State theme earlier, give me Cincinnati over Iowa State.
Wow.
And then give me Rutgers over Northwestern. I know it's a home game, but I think Northwestern pretty clearly better.
Northwestern almost lost to Penn State yesterday in a home game.
True. And then we're going to get just really stupid. I think Ohio State's going to win one of their 2 games this week. We'll take Ohio State over Purdue.
Wow.
Got a feeling.
That's a crazy pick.
I got a feeling.
I think Wisconsin probably would have been the better pick there, but
Wisconsin's lost 4 in a row.
I know. That doesn't matter, though, I've heard.
If it's like 1 in a row, yeah, it doesn't matter as much.
I gotcha.
But let's also not forget the fact that the real reason that Michigan State, why it mattered for them, is because they were playing for their season.
Absolutely.
Wisconsin hasn't been playing for their season, but now they're playing for, okay, we're dropping seed lines left and right. Let's figure it out here, fellas. That's what Wisconsin's playing for now.
That one spot they drop.
Dropped one spot left and right. But yeah, it should be a big week of games.
It's officially basketball season, right?
Yeah. Tonight's an interesting one. I think we could see a little Texas Tech, Wake Forest upset action. I mean, hey, I've seen crazier things. So.
Yeah.
All right, that'll do it for us. I'll be back next Monday, and yeah,
I'll be here too.
Yeah, I forgot to do the banner for all that stuff.